This video is designed to demonstrate how to use SPSS to do a simple linear regression analysis. The two variables that we're going to be working with are reading time, or the number of hours a student reads at home independently, and GPA, student's GPA. So for every number of hours read at home per week, for each student we also have their GPA. And what we want to find out from this analysis is, first of all, is there a relationship between reading time and GPA? And then if there is a relationship, how strong is that relationship? And can we say that reading time predicts or explains a significant proportion of a student's grade point average? So in order to do this analysis, we go to Analyze, Regression, and Linear. And our independent variable is always the variable that we are using to predict or explain a dependent variable. And in this case, reading time is our independent variable, and GPA is our dependent variable. For statistics, the only thing we like to have is the descriptives. So that will allow us to have the correlation coefficients and the means and the standard deviations for our variables that are being analyzed. And then we don't really need to worry about any of these other options at this time. So then we'll go OK. And now we have our output. So the first part of the output, as I said, gives us the means and the standard deviations for each variable. Then we have the correlation between reading time and GPA. And of course, if we had more than one independent variable, then our correlation matrix would be larger. This just tells us that reading time was the only variable that was entered as a independent or a predictor variable, and that's because we only had one. But if we had more than one, let's just say we looked at reading time, student absenteeism, and perhaps maybe a motivation score, all those would be entered into the equation. This model summary tells us the relationship between R, and in this case, since we only have a independent and dependent variable, our coefficient of determination, or R, is the same as the correlation coefficient. To interpret R, we need to square that. And when we square it, what we find is that we come up with 0.739 or 0.74. And what this really means is that 74% of the variance or variability in GPA is explained by the number of hours a student reads at home. And so this is really explaining a lot of the, so reading time is explaining quite a bit of the GPA in this case. The other thing we see is that our analysis is significant. So what this means is that GPA is predicting, this means that reading time is predicting GPA beyond chance levels. So I'm going to just delete these variables here so we can see the final output. The final part of the output shows us our coefficients. This is the constant, and this is the reading time coefficient. So if we were to construct a regression equation, we would use these two pieces of information. Of course, SPSS will do this automatically for us, and I will show you how to do that in class. Another way to obtain the regression coefficient for an analysis like this, or at least a simple linear regression, is to go to Graphs, Legacy Dialogues, and then to Scatter Dot, or Scatter Plot, or Dot. And then in this case, what we want to do is get the simple scatter plot. and we're always put the dependent variable on the x-axis, so that's GPA, and reading time on the y-axis, and then we'll go OK. And so what this does is it shows us the relationship between reading time and GPA. And I'm going to delete this right now, these pieces, so the graph comes up. And we can actually fit a line in these data points by double-clicking in the middle of that graph. And so to do that, we can add the fit line. And so what that does is it fits or puts a line of best fit within those data points, and then it also provides us with the regression equation. And if you recall from our output, this was the regression coefficients. This is the constant that is in the output, and this is the slope. Thank you.